All right, well, here we are, a day late and $1 short. We didn't understand what time we were supposed to be live this morning, so apologize for that. But
we thought it was 10:30, but we're on vacation time, I guess.
yeah, I guess so. We're on Sedona time.
Yeah.
But we're here today to talk about the healing power of the present moment. Yeah. So I'm going to talk a little, get all scientifical, and Elizabeth will probably do more practical.
I'll bring it down a little bit for us all.
So I talk a lot about fight or flight. And what is that really? Well, it's part of the autonomic nervous system. And the autonomic nervous system is automatic. It does all the automatic stuff that we don't really think about, like digestion and breathing when we're not thinking about breathing, and our heart rate and just temperature regulation and blood pressure regulation. So a lot of people who are sick for a long time, they get a condition known as POTS, which is basically when you stand up, you get dizzy and lightheaded and things like that. It's postural orthostatic condition. In other words, you stand up, your blood pressure falls, that kind of thing. And that causes postural orthostatic tachycardia. So the tachycardia means that your heart rate goes fast. So all of that is autonomic. That is autonomic dysregulation. So that's a big part of a lot of chronic illnesses. And then when you're in fight or flight, you're basically shunting blood away from your gut so that your blood goes to your muscles so that you can fight or you can run. Notice it's the same thing, only at a different angle. And you also shut down your immune system. You shut down your healing system, because in a battle, you don't need to be healing. Healing is for after the battle. And, your adrenal glands are in that same circulation, so you're shutting down your ability to cope and respond to stress. You're shutting down your prefrontal cortex, which is where you make decisions and executive function. So all of this is happening because we're in this chronic state of fight or flight. And, fight or flight is life-saving when it's appropriate. If you're out if you're a cave person, trying to be politically correct, cave person, and something happens, a bear jumps out on the trail in front of you, or a lion or whatever, it's appropriate to have a fight or flight response. The problem is we live in a fight or flight society. We live in an all yang, all the time society where people relax by playing a video game where people are chasing them and trying to kill them. So that's
the unwinding, or scrolling, or
it's
watching the new Netflix series, or
it's more calming to play a game where people are chasing you and trying to kill you than real life.
Where that's all those things are more, they're not calming you down, they're distractions.
Right.
So it's just keeping you in fight or flight, but in a different way.
Yeah, a distracted fight or flight. So this idea of the present moment, or as I like to say, the flow of now, is trying to take ourselves out of fight or flight. And when we take ourselves out of fight or flight, we reverse all those things that I talked about. So we turn our immune system and our healing systems back on. We improve our digestion so that even, when you're in fight or flight, even the best diet, you're not really getting the full advantage of that best diet. So it reverses all of those things and helps us heal. In fact, when you look at the data, your diet and your exercise. So everybody's worried about, did I get enough exercise? Did I eat, is my diet okay? Did I take enough supplements? Those are the inputs. The operating system is being in parasympathetic. So that's the opposite of fight or flight, rest and digest. So being in rest and digest is sort of the ground state healing operating system. And if we're not in that ground state healing operating system, we're not going to get the full advantage of all of the inputs, the diet and the exercise and all that stuff. So taking a moment to slow down and actually be present, be mindful, meditate. And, meditation, it's not, me with a longer beard on some mountaintop, oming. It's simply being present. And the meditation part in the chair, that's just training. So I think this is a profoundly overlooked piece of the puzzle in our all yang, all the time society.
Especially for people that are chronically ill, or, being in chronic fight or flight has a lot of those little symptoms, like perhaps you're tired all the time, brain fog. Maybe like over the winter, you seem to get more infections than your husband does, or your friends. There's something going on there, and it very well could be your relationship to stress in your environment, and really taking those moments to, just for me personally, actually, last winter, I think it was, there was like a 6-month period where, maybe it was even like 8 months, where every month I was sick with something. And I was like, what is going on here? I talked to him about it. I was like, I think there's something like wrong with my immune system. It's not working. And then, I started diving deeper myself, and realizing I was stressed out to the max, and I was taking no time to rest. So once I started bringing in that self-care again, I started going to the chiropractor every 2 weeks, and I've been going consistently for almost a year now, every 2 weeks. Really making sure I take those moments and those things to help me unwind and relax, whether it's a walk. Now that the weather is warming up in Minnesota, I try to go for a walk every day after work. Just all those little things add up, and knock on wood, now I've been healthier this past winter. And so I'm, you find kind of a plan that works for you, and you can tell the difference, so you know if the plan is working or not. And if you don't know where to start, we're always here to help you. We also do a lot of coaching as well. So if maybe you don't need to see Dr. Sult for anything, maybe you just need a little bit of tweaking, and our coaches myself, Ashley, we can definitely help with that too.
Yeah, and I think it's important to be careful here. Some people will hear this and think, oh, they're saying that my chronic illness is in my head. No, we're saying that the most powerful organ in your body is your brain. And if you're not recruiting your brain to help you through your chronic illness, then you're not utilizing all of the resources available to you. If you've got chronic Lyme, so I'm currently, I'm writing a master's class for an organization on Lyme disease and post-acute sequelae of Lyme. So the idea here is that there's a lot going on in any chronic infection, right? Like you have maybe chronic Epstein-Barr or cytomegalovirus or Lyme or blah, 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 a bunch of things. It's not just the bug. If it was just the bug, we could take a few antibiotics and you'd be cured. But it's far more complex than that. And a lot of that complexity comes back to autonomic regulation and helping our body. It's like if you shut off your immune system, how are you ever going to get better? So back when I was a medical student, that was at the beginning of what was really a frightening time, the AIDS crisis. We had no idea what was going on. It hadn't been discovered yet. We just knew that people were getting really, really sick. And what we'd find is that two people would come to the emergency room, they'd be admitted to the ICU, we'd treat them, they'd be mortally injured, mortally sick. We'd give them IV antibiotics, we'd do all these things, get them both better. We'd transfer them out to the floor. One would go on to get much, much better, go home. The other one would immediately crump, get really, really sick again, come back to the ICU. That was the person who didn't have an intact immune system to fight the last 10%. You're never going to sweep out every last nook and cranny of your body with antibiotics. You need an intact immune system. And so, for a lot of people who've got POTS and they've got all these manifestations, not of psychology, but of physiology, we need to help normalize that. So I've identified, well, not me, scientists, but I've compiled them, in about 28 different mechanisms that we need to manage, but they all come back to autonomic regulation on some level. Mm-hmm. So there's other things that need to be done too, but autonomic regulation is a big, big piece of it and a dramatically overlooked piece of it. So, I think maybe we talked yesterday a little bit, Elizabeth talked a little bit about her sort of, I'll call it triangular breathing. She, breathe in for 4, hold it in for 4, breathe out for 6. So we got kind of a lopsided.
And then hold that for 4.
Okay, and then hold that for 4. So that's your trapezoid breathing, not quite square breathing. There's another technique that I'll talk about today because I love this technique. So again, it's a two-way path. Your body speaks to your brain more than your brain speaks to your body. So sit in a quiet place, put a small smile on your face, and think about being bathed in gratitude. Think about just, you feel crappy, right? You feel terrible, but maybe you had a meal today. Maybe you have a roof over your head. Maybe there's sun rays coming through the window, making you feel warm, even though you live in cold Minnesota. There's something to have gratitude for. And then think about being bathed in the light of grace. And grace for who? Well, grace for myself, meaning all the dumb things that I don't like about myself. Well, let's just have grace about that and accept all of us, all of ourselves. And then let's have grace for all the people who do the things that we don't understand, like cutting us off in traffic. They cut me off, those idiots. Well, they probably didn't even see you. And if they did see you, they're in a hurry and it's worth risking your life for.
They're more likely distracted.
Yeah, distracted rather than malicious. Mm-hmm. So bathe in grace. And then just bathe yourself in joy and bathe yourself in love. And if you just meditate on that, it will change your physiology. And you can do that while you're doing trapezoid breathing, right? When you're 1, 2, 3, 4.
Or maybe start with the breathing because sometimes you're worked up enough that you can't get off that wheel. So just the other day when we were 2 days ago after our live and how we talked about the breathing, we were on a hike and I got a little worked up about some things and I could feel it. And then I didn't want to do the breathing. I didn't want to do anything. I was just stuck in the moment and I was mad because I was okay for me to be mad. And, but then when I started with the breathing, I was like, no, Elizabeth, I just had to laugh because I just thought, I don't know the word I'm looking for right now.
Well, but these negative emotions are seductive.
And it's kind of, a little bit of a funny, I don't know, when you think you're, like I was talking about, it's not a problem for me. If I do my breathing, I come right out of it, but yet you still have to want to jump into the breathing. Right. So anyway, I did my breaths and then I was able to start with the positive emotions and thinking about positive things. Otherwise, in that moment, I was stuck in that cycle. So sometimes it's a combination of both. You just need to find the thing that works for you to kind of snap you out of that.
There's something about martyrdom that's very seductive. And these negative emotions are a part of martyrdom, right? And if you just knew how terrible my life was, if you just knew my life is worse than yours, everything's terrible for me, and I never have any good luck, and all these sort of limiting beliefs that surface when you're really in angst and upset. These negative limiting beliefs are sort of our captors. They're our jailers. And by breathing through it and then bathing ourselves in grace and gratitude and joy and love, we can help control that. And a shameless...
Or speaking out loud. I mean, sometimes it takes, like, maybe you're stuck in a thought because you need to express something. Like, maybe you need to say something, or... You know, like, you're not listening to me. This is what I meant.
Yep.
Yeah.
So a shameless plug, our book, Find Your Core, A Journey Back to Self, is live on Amazon. And there's actually the first chapter, maybe it's the second chapter after the introduction, but there's a chapter about finding your core beliefs and examining your beliefs about which are limiting and which are empowering, and reframing the limiting beliefs and looking at them in the light of day and determining if they're actually true or if they're just fabrications from experiences that were, less than ideal or something. So if you're troubled with limiting beliefs, I'm no good, people don't like me, I always have bad luck. These things can become self-fulfilling prophecies. I mean, if you're walking around, nobody likes me, and you're walking around like this, well, how are you ever going to give anybody a chance to know you? So anyway, limiting beliefs are really powerful. Stillness and being present are an antidote to being in fight or flight. And I don't know, where are we here? Probably getting close to our 15 minutes, I'm imagining.
I imagine.
So, we're in Sedona. We're on an iPhone right now. We're not on our usual computer, so we can't see. I can see there's some comments, but I can't see what they are. Hopefully they're not saying...
I saw Fran said something about glad to see you're human.
Oh, yeah. Well, so guess what? Part of on our hike the other day, when she was talking about she was getting upset, it was, I've told you 100 times, is one thing she said. So
yeah, he just doesn't listen sometimes. And then that's why I was like, you know what? It is valid. Like, it's valid to be upset because somebody's not listening to you. Somebody used to be a rock climber and now you're climbing this rock and he's not listening to you. I can't go that way. But I still had to talk myself off the ledge. Like, okay, I'm not gonna be able to communicate if I'm frustrated. So I became unfrustrated and I had a beautiful time. Even in the moments he won't listen to me.
Even when I was being an asshole.
Yeah. And then I think he even told me to breathe, and that was like, yeah, he did. He said, you're in fight or flight, just take some deep breaths. And I was like, just take some deep breaths like that.
Would you like to be murdered right now?
I was like, oh, he's right. But I was like, are you really telling me to breathe right now? You're braver than I thought you were.
No, just dumber. Just dumber. Yeah, that's all. Just dumber.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, it's always an adventure.
Yeah. So, this is part of being human, right? I mean, it's a dance. It's a continuous dance with our own emotional self, our own limiting beliefs, our own biases, and believing that there's one right answer. Maybe in certain disciplines of science, there might be one right answer. But I mean, even in mathematics, if you're doing a quadratic equation, there's two answers. So this idea that there's one right answer and it's mine, well, you might want to let go of that and think it through a little bit more carefully. So, and if you give yourself that space to allow for more than one right answer, it's freeing. It's really freeing. All right. So, the healing power of the present moment, I think a dramatically overlooked piece of the puzzle. And again, not because your illness is in your head, not because your illness is psychological, but because your brain is the most powerful organ in your body, and harnessing its truly awesome potential for healing, I think is critical. All right, so I think, are we leaving it there? Did you have some more wisdom to impart?
Just be here now.
Be here now.
Be here now.
That's
kind of my mantra, is be here now, be here now. And we were yesterday.
Sometimes
we
it's be here now.
We were at a Peace Park yesterday, and there were some flags up, and one of them said, be here now. And I just had to smile. I was like...
How did you feel about that lady who was walking around the thing the wrong direction? So we were at this Peace Park. There's a... how come I can't think of the name of it? Anyway, there's a structure, and you're supposed to walk around it clockwise. This woman was walking around counterclockwise. And it's like... I guess that's your journey, but you're in the way. Anyway, so I guess there's more than one way to do it. Maybe she was trying to unwind some things for herself. Who knows? Anyhow, have a great day. Today is a work day for us. It doesn't seem like it because we're in Sedona, I suppose, but we have just launched, a few little end notes maybe. We have just launched our website, Precision Weight Management. Count toxins, not calories. Do we know the URL to that?
It's on a recent post.
It's on a recent post on our Facebook page. We are going to be launching a few more programs in the very near future. So very exciting time for us. And that's why we're here, is to get away and work on the business rather than in the business, so that we can focus and bring new exciting stuff. All right. We'll see you guys later. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.